Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School podcast. Today we have three different guest speakers. If you guys are coming back, you're gonna be seeing these guys back and forth because they have been in the podcast before. So I felt like they had something else to share. So I decided to put everyone together in the same live, I guess. Unfortunately, not on the same room yet. Maybe one day. So we can talk about some hot topics that we see in sports, in athletes, especially when it comes to mindset. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me. Um, let's start. I want you guys to introduce yourself, tell a little bit what you guys are doing, what you guys are up to. Let's start with Cesar Feijão. You are the one that, like you said, knows everyone, so I'll let you go first. This episode is brought to you by California Avocados Direct. Real hand-picked avocados straight from the family farm to your doorstep. No warehouse, no middleman, just rich, buttery flavor delivered fresh. If you care about what fuels your body, this is for you. Head to CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com and use the code The Athletic School for 10% off your first order.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for having me again. It's a big pleasure to be in this podcast one more time. I think it's my third appearance, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's not the last one. So I'm very excited to be here with great friends, with Thales, with Bernardo, with you, Igor. And well, right now I am the head volleyball coach at Florida Southwestern College in Fort Myers. It's a NJCAA Division One school. I'm also have a podcast called Set Point Podcast. Talk about volleyball, especially all training, every aspect of volleyball training, especially through the coach's perspective. I have a coaching education project through this podcast, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and I work for the USA Volleyball national team as well, the beach side on the development program. So it's been 3 years that I'm part of this program. So yeah, I'm excited. Excited to be
Awesome.
here. Excited to learn with those everybody here.
All right, let's do it. Thales, I'll let you go next.
Well, it's always a hard act to follow after that, isn't it? What am I going to say now? All right, nice to meet you all. First, thank you for inviting us back. And it's an honor to see people like us, really, that think the same way and are willing to do something to share. And most importantly, for all of us, I know why we're all here. We're here to learn from each other so we can pick each other's brain. I've been working for a long time as a soccer coach. Now I've transitioned just to the mental performance side. And very exciting news. I am working with Cesar Feijão's team in college. Is a college volleyball team. So we're very, very excited to get things going. Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure being here.
Quick break before we get back to the show. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the Athletic School podcast. It means the world to me. Second, in whatever platform you might be listening to this, if you could hit that follow or subscribe button, that would mean the world to me as well. It's just the beginning, but it already feels like something special. And if you do that, I promise you that with all my energy, I'll bring the best guest speaker as possible and I'll keep sharing all the lessons I have learned through this journey to make you a better person on and off the field. Now, let's get back to the show. Awesome. Thanks, Thales. Bernardo, I'll let you go next. I know you had a busy day, so I appreciate you getting here as soon as you could. I know we are all in different time zones. So Bernardo.
Yeah, absolutely. Same as these two guys. What a pleasure to be here, and regardless of how busy times are, I think this is a special group of people, and so just to have the honor to be here on the podcast and learn from everybody, I think is really exciting. My name is Bernardo Silva. I'm the head women's soccer coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. It's a Division One school in the Big West Conference, we got a lot going on right now. I'm moving my family to San Luis Obispo. They haven't arrived yet, so they'll arrive in 2 weeks. So selling a house, buying a house, and we start preseason tomorrow. So been running around, getting everything ready, but really happy to be here and allocate some time for this podcast, because Igor, I think you do a tremendous job bringing up some really important topics that I think it's always great to hear from different people and yeah, and continue to make this world that we live in a better place.
I appreciate that. Gentlemen, to begin with, a topic that, and I want to go right straight to the topics. Working with many athletes, I want to talk about social media. Um, we all know that social media, it's a huge thing in our lives nowadays. But with the athletes that you guys are working on, do you feel like the athletes are focusing more on their next post on social media, or they're focusing more on the next play, or is it a balance? What are your guys' thoughts on it? And I'll let whoever wants to go first go first.
I can go first because I do a huge work on social media myself. So, and it's interesting and it's funny because all of my players post way less than I do. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the last generation of athletes I've been working with, or I don't know what it is, but well, I use my social media for work basically. So I have two Instagram pages, one for the coaching education project that I have, and one which is more personal and uh, posting more about my current work. So when I was at Bakersfield, I posted a lot about Bakersfield. When I was at LMU, I posted a lot about LMU, and now I post a lot about Florida Southwestern College. And the other one is solely for coaching education. So I am on social media a lot, and I don't see my players posting so much. So, but I'm not on TikTok, so maybe they are posting on TikTok and I don't even see it. But my perception for especially those last 2 years that I worked with really high level players, LMU, I was working with Olympians, and uh, all the high level players that I was working with were pretty conscious about the social media aspect and how much they were spending their time on it. And I feel that my team here at FSW is the same way. They're pretty conscious. They're great students. They're super on top of their academics, and they don't make a lot of fuss about social media. So I don't see that as a big problem. And I see that as a platform for to advertise their career. Now that college sports are changing drastically, like the rules that are being um, that are starting to happen now, especially at the Division One level, with NILs, with revenue sharing, all of that. It will become a little more important for them to advertise themselves to be recruited, maybe. But I feel that me, as someone who does social media a lot for work, I am in a good position to mentor them on that kind of field.
Mm-hmm.
And for me right now, it's not a problem at all. It's something that's very natural. I feel that maybe 5, 6 years ago was the peak of that social media boom, and now it kind of went down. So that's my perception. I don't have any data to support it's just my opinion and what I see my own experience.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest concern for me, it's not necessarily the posting, but the usage of social media. And I don't know if you
Mm.
guys ever happen to walk in the meeting for you guys with your team, and then everyone is on their phone or texting someone or maybe just scrolling on social media. And I think
Mm.
we'll get into that later on, like the mental health issues and all of that. But I
Mhm.
feel like the content that they are using might be an issue sometimes. Thales, have you ever seen anything like that?
I think there's a few different levels that we can talk about. So, depending on what we call social media, is it to post stuff or is it like consuming information? And I think if just like all of us, like you Google something or you search something, and all of a sudden your feed is full of whatever topic you wanted to know more about. So if they consume the wrong information, and it's in order to compare or to be like, oh wow, look at their life and look at mine, if they're using for that and consuming the wrong information and gets like exponential the exposure to that, because the algorithm will keep like bombarding you with that. So I think it's also knowing what are you consuming. Like I love Twitter, for example, because I'm always learning stuff. Oh, Instagram too. Like I watch one video and then all of a sudden, man, it was like half an hour later and I'm recording the screen, and like to learn something new. But if they're just posting or you know uh consuming that kind of like empty, like it doesn't do any good. So I
Mhm.
think we can teach them, what are you willing to do? What's the objective of you watching something? Is that making you a better player or a better person or whatever it may be? But it's not, I don't think we have to fight against, because that's part of their lives. That's part of how now this like generation, let's say, they consume information through social media. So not necessarily it's just like posting. I think it's also, like getting more aware of the world out there.
Mhm.
That's what I think.
Yeah, Bernardo, what about you? And I'm gonna be honest, because every time I post a reel with you, or even one of you three, it's always my Instagram always get very busy because your followers come to the athletic school social media, and I love it. But lately, I've been posting a lot of things about Bernardo from our last podcast, and a lot of your athletes seems to be very active on it. Do you see the same pattern that Cesar see it, or is anything different?
No, I definitely. I mean, I think I like the distinction that Thales just made in terms of the posting and the consuming, and I think we definitely, and I try to, I guess, lead by example and model what I believe is building your brand.
Hmm.
I use my Instagram page primarily for I have family and I have my career, and I try to. That's my brand. I'm a family man. I'm a husband. I'm a dad, and that's a really important part of who I am. And I am a coach, and so I try to lead by example on what does it mean to have a brand and to share that with them because it is the world that they live in. And so I think it's really important that they all can build a brand. I mean, I'm part of a school right now where we are the professional team in town. We are women's soccer in San Luis Obispo. We're the any professional women's soccer team is in LA or San Francisco, which is 3 hours. And so all the little girls that play soccer in our county, they follow our players on Instagram. And so I tell them, you've got to represent, you're an ambassador of our program, and you've got to
Mhm.
teach these little girls what does it mean to be a student athlete. What does that look like? Um, what does it mean to relax and have some time off? What does it mean? So I think it's a really cool opportunity that we have, and so teaching them that responsibility from a posting standpoint and what they're putting out there is really important. Um, so I think it's all about guiding and educating them. And it's funny because tomorrow we have a meeting about standards, as our first team meeting and social media. I have 3 or 4 slides about social media and what are we trying to do with our social media brand. So I try to lead by example so that they can, I always tell them, follow me and see what does it look like to build a brand if you're not sure, but find your own brand, build your own brand. But I think one of the things that I see an issue that I think, Igor, you're kind of touching on when it comes to the scrolling, the comparisons. We addressed this a little bit about the last podcast that I did with you, is this constant need to compare your life to somebody else's life. And I don't have enough comparatively to what they do. Even from a commitment, when you commit to a college, everybody's process is a very individual process. Some people might verbally commit to a school as a senior in high school, some people might commit earlier. But if you're constantly comparing and it's all about the commitment post so that you can just get the likes and get the social approval, that's where I feel like sometimes people get distracted and start focusing on the wrong thing. So, but just trying to educate and guide them and understanding that it's not going away and it's just a part of their life now. And so I think that's a really important role that we have as leaders within our organizations.
As we are already on the topic, and I had this for later, but let's do it now because I love this. And I think I talked to you, all of you guys, on the podcast that I had with you about comparison. And we all know the quote that says comparison is the thief of joy. And I always had that mental battle in my head because I always compare myself a lot with other people, but in the most time of my career, that made me a better player. So I do think that comparison can be the thief of joy, but it also can make us a better player. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Where do you guys land on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about this topic, and I think I kind of I live by a concept that I came across, a couple of years back. That is the me with you versus the me versus you, which I think is a pretty fascinating topic. And I listen, comparisons when you are in an industry where there's competition, you're always going to have that as part of, I guess, just the industry that you're in and society. And so I understand that to a level. I think where it becomes a problem is, again, is if that's what you're consuming, and you think that every single thing it's you against somebody. I believe it's you against you. And so you being a better version of yourself the next day is the most important. So now the comparisons that you're doing are very focused internally. It's you versus you. But when it comes to other people, you think of it as a partnership. If I'm bringing the best version of myself every single day, I then allowing the next person to do the exact same, and together we can achieve some amazing things. And so that's what I try to teach, especially coaching a team sport where our right back is competing for playing time against the other one in the depth chart. So there's always competition. Well, if my starting right back brings the best of herself every single day, and she's in a very me versus me mindset every day, she's going to be pushing the person right behind her. And so does she as well. So if we limit the comparisons, learn from others, limit the comparisons to you versus you, and then try to allow this me with you concept to become more of a partnership, I think that you find the right balance in a society that it's all about competition. And I think that that's just part of the part of how we have to live to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. Cesar, you were taking some notes there. I'll let you
Yeah,
go.
I'm like I said, I'm excited to be here to learn with those guys and you. But I think comparison is it's the human nature is always compared to each other. That's part of the human race, right? And I think coaching is a constant education process. So we're educators. Before we're coaches, we're educators. We're someone who's going to teach someone something. And in a world that you see in social media and compare yourself to a lot of people, a lot of situations, people that are even really far from your reality or your teammate, the coach's education process becomes even more important. So you telling your player that your competition is with yourself, but it's okay to, but at the same time you compare numbers between players the same position or similar positions because because you have to make some decisions. Uh, become it's a paradox, but it's also really important because, like I said, it's an education process that you as a coach, you put some goals, the team goals ahead of any individual, and the way you educate your players on it become one of the most important things in your work. So I think I'm going a little bit in circles over here, but my point is the comparison is inevitable. They will compare themselves to their teammates, compare themselves to other players from other teams. But our job as leaders is to educate them on how to view that comparison in a positive way, to motivate themselves to be better, like Bernardo said, to compare themselves with their own selves and to produce for the team. So the thing is, we cannot stop comparison. This is it's from our nature as human beings, but you can teach how to reframe those comparisons into something that could be very positive for that individual and for the team.
And that all comes down to mindset, which brings me to Thales. Yeah, because I think Thales has a lot to add on that one, and I agree with you, Cesar, because we can just tell them like, don't compare yourself. I mean, we always gonna compare
That's
ourselves. We always
impossible.
gonna compare with another podcast,
Mhm.
someone else that we see on social media, a player that is on our side, the players that plays for the other team. But I think the question is like, okay, how can we, reframe that comparison? And Thales, I'll let you to go and tell us your thoughts on it.
I think it all starts with the first step is to me is self-awareness. They need to be aware of who they are competing against and with. So what Bernardo said there, it's me with you. So the comparison is going to happen. Yes, obviously, it's natural. But in order for me to be able to compare myself to someone else, first, I need to compare myself to myself. So first, I have to not just change my self-talk, but change my proof, my identity of who I am. So when Bernardo was saying that, I'm a father, I'm a coach, I'm an example, I'm a role model. So you identify as that because you've collected enough proof to yourself that you are that person. So when someone is comparing themselves to others, I think they have not had enough evidence that they're secure enough in who they are, competing against themselves first, and saying, if I said I'm going to do something, guess what? I'm going to do it because I am that kind of person. So someone that's self-aware first and foremost. Okay, this is my competition. My real competition is my excuses, my fear, my lack of confidence when the pressure comes. That's who you have to compare and get better than. The things that stop you, that they start with a little voice, but when the pressure comes, that's when you don't control yourself. So you can compare yourself to others. So to me, the first step is know what your real competition is. And then when there's someone, and there will always be someone better than you, stronger than you, faster than you don't compare, you aspire to be like them. Use them as an inspiration. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Look at what they're doing. Good. I want to get there as well. Not like, oh, look at where they are and look where I am. Well, if you set your GPS from where you are and from where I am, it's going to be completely different. The starting position that I am at someone else's, you can't compare. So my coordinates from where I'm starting to where I'm going are going to be very different than yours, than everyone else. So the only thing that I have control really is once I set my direction to what Feijão was saying, once we set goals and things like that, okay, how do I get there from where I am, not from where you guys are? It's gonna mess up our GPS.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's fun you say that because whenever I was playing and I was a goalkeeper, so I was always comparing myself to the keeper that I was playing if I wasn't playing, or with the keeper that was behind me, ready to come in if I wasn't doing enough. Um, but then now that I don't play anymore, and I mean, the podcast came along, Thales came to my life, all you guys brought those thoughts to my life, and then I'm like I was saying before, I'm training for an Ironman, and now it got to the point that it's impossible for me to compare myself with everyone that's going to do an Ironman, because it's just not doable. Like, I'm never going to feel fulfilled. I'm never going to feel good about myself, because there's always going to be someone better than me, right? Even if I win the Ironman 7.3 in Louisville, well, there's another hundred thousands of Ironmans around the country. And
You
then
qualify for the regional and then the national.
exactly, like, it's impossible. It's impossible, right? It's just not doable. I'm never going to be good with myself. But every time I go biking, I go run, and my pace, my time is 2 seconds better, 1 second better. That's when, like, okay,
Yeah.
that's winning,
That's your
because
proof. That's your
exactly,
proof right there.
Yeah.
exactly, and everything changes, right? Everything changes when we know who to compare ourselves to. So I love that.
Yeah. I would also say that when Thales was talking about like aspire, when you just change compare just the compare versus aspire, just that word selection immediately aspire makes it you more in control. Like when you
Mm-hmm.
put compare, you're putting the control on something external, versus aspire, it's like, dude, I can aspire is like there's like a nice undertone. There's like, dude, I can be like that, like, and it's just a completely different tone to the word. So I feel like when Thales was talking about just, the self-awareness, the importance of knowing who you are, and having, a strong core values and identity, and knowing what your mission is, that's all part of that self-awareness, right? But that, together with the word aspire, you are living within the me with you. You're not living me versus you, really. And so I think that was beautiful. I think that was a really cool way of putting it.
You go from like the egocentric view
Yeah.
where I matter more than anyone else to, all right, good.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're all in the same boat at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
one thing that I want to add to that is maybe coaches are watching us, maybe athletes are watching us, and we are all a little bit older than Igor for sure, and we have some experience, and that self-awareness that Thales talked about comes with the age as well, comes with the experience. So our experience gives us a little more. We're a little more we have more experiences in life that makes us see through that perspective, but maybe an athlete does not see like that. And that's when uh, our roles as coaches, as
Absolutely.
coaches from a team or a mental performance coach, is super important to mentor our players who are
Yeah.
going through a phase of like, oh man, I am comparing myself true and true 100% to the other player, to my teammate, because they don't have enough experience to know that maybe they are not going to come to the conclusion by themselves that they have to compare themselves to their own selves, or they have to see as an inspiration another person or another teammate or whoever they feel threatened by as an inspiration and someone they can look up to or work on themselves. So our roles as coaches, as mentors, is really really important on that education aspect that I talked about.
Igor, if you allow me, just to like one more thought, as Cesar was saying here, something that I talk to my kids, players, all the time is also recognizing. It's very, very important. Is recognizing when you are comparing yourself to someone and you get down on yourself, give a friend some advice. If a friend was going through that exact thing and your thoughts in your mind are telling you, oh, but look at Igor, he's training for a half Ironman. I can't even get out of the couch and this and that. Okay, if those thoughts were my friend's thoughts, what advice would you give someone? Would you say, oh, yeah, you are a piece of crap. Yeah, you should just stay on the couch. No, you wouldn't. So we are so not self aware that we give others advice that we wouldn't give ourselves. So just like simply changing the word, like, oh, aspire. Oh, you too. Aspire to be better. Aspire to learn. Aspire to improve and not be perfect. So it's always a matter of, okay, wow, I got to treat myself with compassion. I got to have self-compassion and not always like, oh, yeah. If we compare, we're never going to be good enough with anything. There's always someone more than you. So whoever is watching this year, become aware of what is going on in your mind. That those are thoughts. Those are not necessarily you. So the comparison is a thought. It's not anything else. So if you're going to give yourself some advice, have self-compassion, please.
And for the people that are listening to us, and maybe they are athletes, and Thales, you mentioned about self-awareness. Um, Cesar, you're mentioning how you guys become more self-aware as time and experience comes along. But is there anything that you guys do to become more self-aware that maybe these people that are listening to us can do as well? In terms, I don't know, is there journaling, is there meditation, or is there anything that you guys do in that sense that help you guys become more aware that maybe can other people can do too?
I say, if you allow me to go first, um, pretty much 95% of our thoughts, they come from the unconscious mind. Only 5% are the ones that we are creating. So to me, becoming more self-aware is being able to recognize that you have the ability to create new thoughts, which most people call positive thinking. So positive thinking comes after being aware. So you got to be aware of what's going on in your mind. And when you recognize that that's a little negative, that's comparison. So can I say in that moment, can I be aware enough of what is going on and go, oh, okay, I'm going to aspire. I'm not going to compare. So to me is fighting really against your brain, because I remember us talking about that in our podcast. It's like the survival mechanism and all of that is it's going to be focused on the negative. So 95% is unconscious, is just popping up. So to me, is becoming more and more aware. And my main thing is breathing, number one. And then number two is doing something that you don't want to do, because that's when the mind talks the loudest. That's when a thought will cross your mind and say, not today, don't go, don't do. And it starts like that. But when you are in the middle of a game, of a pressure situation, that voice is not going to be like, just today. That's going to be on a speakerphone that's coming from you don't even know where. That's the same thing. So you got to learn how to, that little voice. So I go from 5% being conscious to hopefully 6, 7, 8, until I'm more and more aware of my unconscious thoughts. I'm aware of them. Sorry, I can go on about this. I'm gonna let these guys talk too. I apologize.
Oh no,
We
we love
love
it.
that. We love that.
Yeah,
Bernardo, is there anything that
I
you do?
can I can
Cesar?
hear you for hours and hours.
Uh-huh.
That's why I invited you to work with me.
I'm honored. Thank you.
It's awesome.
Cesar, Bernardo, is there anything that you guys can think that athletes can do in order to become more self-aware?
I'll give you my experience. Um, I got self-aware. I got aware about self-awareness very late in my life. I think I did like naturally. I don't know. I don't know. In a natural way, I was self-aware about my strengths and my weaknesses, but never actually thought about it until I started to coach coaches. When I started to coach coaches, I became way more self-aware because I was seeing myself on those people. And I'm the type of guy that I put things in action and I think the plan afterwards. Now I plan a little bit better beforehand, but before I'm very, uh, I'm super go go apply ideas, go put everything in action. And this is my way to know a little bit more about myself. And sometimes doing things the wrong way, or being too anxious about putting ideas out. But that's the way I got to know myself. And I know, hey, I have to just plan a little bit better, maybe, or plan a little bit more before I put something in action. And I talk to people a lot. So I ask for advice a lot. Like I call my friends every day, maybe, to ask for advice, to check on my ideas and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Like to start the podcast, I thought about the podcast and I called Peter and say, let's do the podcast. He's like, oh, tell me a little bit more about that. And I was like, no, let's do the first one. I sent him the link and we recorded the podcast right there. So it was and thank goodness it worked out. So right now it's going really well. But I I tend to actually put my ideas out and put them in action. And through those situations, I get to know myself a little bit more, and I changed the tire, changed the tire with the car running. I'm this type of guy, and that's how I get to know my strengths and my weaknesses by experiencing things. And of course studying. Like I'm a big lifelong learner. The more I can back up my actions with some data, with some science, with some experience from other people, yeah, I'm gonna follow steps that have been taken already. But uh, for me, is like through actions, through putting things to happen, like to test them. That's how I do not recommend that for everyone. People probably have, I would recommend planning more, but it's a good way to know yourself for sure.
Yeah, I would add, I feel like I've always, I mean, and I remember like even as a young boy, like I felt like I was always pretty aware of who I was and what my values were. And my wife even, talks to me that I sometimes, even in my coaching, that I have a lot of, like, I have really high standards because I was really self-aware very young. And so that's sometimes not normal. And sometimes people take a little bit longer um, to realize who they are and what is their mission. I knew since I was 15 that I wanted to be a coach, and here I am at 36, right? And that's not normal. But I have a simple exercise that I do with my team, even to bring out this self-awareness concept, which is I ask them, if you were, like, what is that adjective that people always would remember you for? What is that adjective? And some people, like, as they answer that question. So, for example, I always say that, I'll give you my example. Every card, every letter that a player writes me at the end of the year, every speech, they use the word passionate, right? So, passionate Bernardo is my adjective, right? And so, based on experience, that's my adjective. Then I got to think, okay, if that's my adjective, do I like that adjective? Am I proud of the fact? If I left tomorrow, and my life ended tomorrow, would I be proud that that's the adjective, that's the legacy that I'm leaving in this world? And you might get funny Bernardo, and I'm like, oof, I don't know if that's, I want to be my legacy that I'm funny, right? Now, so you can look at it different ways. And so what I like about that exercise, it makes you think about something that, okay, that's how people perceive me, right? So I'm becoming more self-aware of how am I putting myself out in the environment. But then I also say, if you're proud of it, now think about 3 actions that every single day you are going to do, okay, to live by that adjective. So if you say loyal Igor, okay, what actions represent the word loyal that you are going to hold yourself accountable to every single day, bringing to this group of people, to your team, to your family, to whatever, right? And it becomes a really cool exercise, because not only do they become more self-aware of something that maybe their teammates or their um, classmates, members of the organization, whatever, that they think of them, are they proud of it? Do they want to change that? Would they rather be something else? And then you have the actions that when you have the actions, you really, it's like an agreement, like a contract. Okay, now I got to really live by these actions. And so it was a really cool exercise that I came across a couple of years ago that we do every year. And it helps people realize what do they bring to the table. And it stays the me with you, because I always say, guys, everybody's got to bring a different adjective. You can't pick the same one. So you can pick closely ones, but you got to pick different ones so that everybody brings something new to the locker room, to the group of people that you are with. So I think all these exercises, all these things, I think can help with self-awareness, and then it's a world that you venture in and you become better and better with more and more life perspective, for sure.
Awesome. I love
Funny
that.
that you say, I heard you say, telling that story in the podcast with Igor that you did with him. And I was like, man, that's awesome. I'm going to do that with my team. And I kind of did, I didn't do the whole dynamic, but it's something to think about. I'm going to talk about that with my mental performance guy.
I love
Uh,
it.
Gentlemen, the culture of winning at all costs. Do you guys think that this mindset is building something great, is building greatness in a way, or is burning people out? Who wants to go
Any
first?
specific age that we're talking about, or any specific level, or
Not necessarily. Whatever you wanna, whatever your thoughts are, and whatever age or level you want.
okay, I'll put all of us in the hot seat here.
Okay.
Cesar and I. The winning coacher, he is taking over a place, a college program that has won 3 national championships in a row. So him coming in, is that the winning culture? Like the winning at all costs is going to take? If we won 3, we're going to win 4. Is that what we're talking about? Like at that level, or maybe like a youth coach that the kids travel to. Like Bernardo is familiar with youth soccer. Someone drives more than an hour and they don't see the field and they're 9 years old. So I think it's very different levels. Also, if you're dealing with the parents of the kids or the kids themselves, if they're a little bit older, I think there's lessons into not necessarily winning at all costs, but I think winning is, when I was coaching on the field, I used to tell my guys all the time, winning is a skill, and it's a skill that it has to be learned. And winning feels good. Let's not be, like, oh, we're all competitors here. We love winning. So it's not winning at all costs. I think it's not stepping over people, but, like preparing as well as you can. So the likelihood of you winning the match is higher. I think that's key for us, because we're not going to prepare our teams to go out and say, oh, yeah, let's try our best. No, 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 not at all. So I think coming from, and Cesar can speak a lot better than I can, but about leadership from us as coaches, as leaders, like we got to prepare as well as we can. So if we win or lose the match, it might come down to an error, to the referee, to whatever. But did we prepare enough? Did we learn our lesson in the match or the game or whatever? And again, let me go back to him. What do you have to say there about, are you going to win at all costs? The
Uh,
fourth is coming.
well,
4P.
I really hope, but I would, if I would rephrase that, put that phrase in a different wording, would be learning at all costs. So that would be my way to get a team that is really good and become even better.
I love that.
Because for me, and I'm talking as an educator, learning is the most important piece of evolution in any aspect. If you get any profession, the only way to grow and become better is through learning. So we're not going to win the fourth national championship here doing the same things that they did before. It's a different group of people. It's a
So
different
true.
context. It's a different the opponents are going to be different. The situations we're going to encounter are going to be totally different. So we have to keep learning. So I used to say that learning is our knowledge is an island. So our island is this big today. If we keep learning, we're going to grow our island and we're going to have more borders of this island to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the most important thing is learning. And every day in practice, I try to design activities for them to learn something. And maybe this first year will be a little bit easier because I'm new. I'm bringing new ideas. So naturally, they're going to learn something new. Naturally, they're going to become better through learning. However, it's a group that has won national championship. Some players won 2 national championships in this team.
Oh wow.
So I have to be really smart on how I communicate those those practices, those ideas for them to keep learning and buy into my ideas as well. You know, so I'm coming in a really good culture, in a winning mentality, but I have to put them in situations that they're gonna keep learning and keep growing. You
But
know,
Cesar,
I don't believe in winning at all costs. Uh, uh, I believe in winning at all costs, going the right way, not going over your values, not forgetting your identity, not trying to be someone that you're not, and to keep evolving through learning.
Yeah.
so do you think that if at the end of the season you guys won, but you guys didn't learn as much, you wouldn't be as successful as learning more and maybe not winning as much in terms of results?
I think that it's an impossible task to win again without learning a lot.
Mhm.
That's my premise. I don't think we're going to win if we don't learn a lot of new things and a lot of new things, not just on the course, but behaviors especially. You know, so I don't think one thing is going to come without the other. It's impossible. It's just not doable.
Mhm. Bernardo?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listening to Cesar, I think of like winning as a byproduct of all of these things that, the preparation, you being your best self, living through your core values, having an alignment of standards across your organization. If you do those things consistently, winning will be a byproduct. It's inevitable that you are going to win. I think if the mentality that you're teaching, when you think about winning, like in obviously, and it doesn't really matter if it's sports or business or anything that you're talking about. Winning, there's a part of winning that is outside of your control, and it goes back to like a referee makes a bad call at the end of the game. You did everything right, and you lose. If everything was about winning at all costs, and that's all that you were about, you're going to not feel fulfilled. So I think it's about putting yourself and the group of people that you are with in a position to, at the end of the year, be able to win and to compete for a win. I think that's really valuable. But there's a lot about winning that you do not control. And so the more that you can go back to the things that you do control and understanding that at some point it's going to lead to wins, I think that's way healthier. And it's a way better perspective to have. And I think the other thing that I was writing down, I think teaching your student athletes, teaching the people within your organization to respecting what it takes to win, I think is a much more important process, because you can do a lot of great things at the end, and at the end of the day still not win. But the process to get there, you're going to figure out so much about who you are. You're going to figure out so much about the people that you are with, and probably the people that are worthy of being at the end lifting that trophy or celebrating that big milestone. So I think it's all about the process. And so the more the focus on the process, winning is going to be a byproduct. Now, it's not that winning doesn't solve everything, because winning is a drug, and you get a little bit of it and you want more. So I think that there's a really good thing about that. And I always say this, when you sit with winners, people that wake up every single day wanting to do something impactful to the world, that's a winner. When you sit with those people, which I'm sitting with 4 people right now, the conversation's different versus when you sit with losers, people that don't have the same. And losers is a big word, like, oh, losers. No, I'm talking about those people that just don't really, that kind of walk around missionless and don't really, have high standards and don't have values or don't seek to have values. Those are people that, the conversation is just different. No? So I think creating an environment where there's an understanding, yes, we ambition to win. Tomorrow, I'm going to have my first meeting with my team and I'm going to say, our goal this year, guys, is to win the Big West Conference. But I always tell them, this is the one time and only time that you hear me talk about this goal, because I don't want to talk too much about goals. What I'm going to talk about is the process to get there, and the journeys and the small steps and the one day better. That's what we're going to focus on, because that's in our control. Winning the Big West, we don't have full control over that, but that is the goal. Absolutely. So I think that's the way I think you teach to have both of those concepts in really good balance.
I think too, Igor, if you allow me, is to what Bernardo and Cesar was saying, is something that what's going to be better for them, for the team, for the culture in the long run. Because Bernardo said it's a drug and we get addicted to it. But the problem is it's a hit, and it's a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
But mathematically, if we just talk about the goal, like the Big West, if you are really going to come down to, that's going to be 0.1% of your season. So the 99.9 will be the process.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to understand that, how do I get a taste of that little hit that I'm going to get at the end of the year? That to me comes back to winning your daily battles. Win that daily battle against yourself. So the little tiny, like you talk about the hormones all the time, the little tiny dopamine hit is like, oh, it's growing. It's growing. So can I handle, to what Cesar was saying, like at the end of the year, can I handle lifting that trophy and, like having that feeling? But it's a process, and you're not going to win if you don't learn. So you have to spend 99% of the time in the learning process and figuring it out and getting better, until you can finally get like that tiny moment
Yeah.
in the season.
No, and going back to the education process and us leaders making sure our athletes understand that it's an education process, is the daily wins. Like, there are many wins throughout the process that will lead to the big win. Like, we want to win a national championship, yes. But my team, the players, they made like a guide of how to be a buck. Or so our mascot is the buccaneer. So they made how to be a buck, and it's 16 items. Be disciplined. There's a lot of things, and at the end, win a national championship. So the process has many wins, and it has many um, many
layers.
many small benchmarks that you have to hit on a daily basis, and they reset every day. They reset every day, and it's hard. It's a hard process. And us educating them about those small wins is very important to lead to the big win, I think. So
And
there's many layers and many interpretations to that. And if you are not a good communicator, maybe your team is going to get lost in the middle of this process or in the beginning.
I think we have to teach them not to undervaluate the value of the small wins, because they stack up. They stack up over time.
Yeah.
They
And
just have to get used to it.
Yeah, and I feel like like you guys said many times, it's not about the finish line, it's about the path to get there. And
Mhm.
I've seen that in my training for the Ironman because, I mean, the Ironman is gonna be one day, 6 hours, and after that, it's all gone. But I've been preparing like 8 months is along to get to that point, and if I don't enjoy the process of, improving
Mhm.
my pace, improving my time little by little, it it doesn't matter, right? I'm gonna get to that day and then like, okay, this is it, it's gone. But so that's why, like, I wouldn't even be able to go to the Ironman and finish if I am not enjoying the process now. Even though sometimes the process can be difficult, sometimes you try to hit that number but you don't. But it's part of the process. You have to trust the process, because through the process much is gained. You don't have to only gain when you cross the finish line. You can gain through the process. So I love everything you guys said.
Let, I promise this is the last one. I got really excited about this topic. I think this big goal that we're talking about, Bernardo winning the Big West, us winning the national championship, is one big goal. It's not the finish line. So our jobs as coaches, their jobs as athletes, does not have a finish line. It's an endless process that maybe the bigger win, the biggest win, will make a little impact in our players' lives. That's what I believe. The 5, 6, 10 years later, your player sends you a message saying, Cesar, I really want you to go to my wedding. Cesar, I really got this really good job, and this little lesson that you taught me in one of the pressure moments that we lived together made a total difference for me to get this goal that I was really excited about accomplishing.
Yeah.
So there are many ways to see wins, you know. And don't get me wrong, I really want to be a national champion. This is the biggest goal of my year for sure, but there are some many wins throughout the process that are really worth it to recognize,
Mhm.
and there are more things that are way bigger than being a national champion, way bigger, way more important, you know but it's just the perspective that you put. Sorry, spoke too much.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% because we want to, it's nice to have a ring, but 10 years from now, I don't think we're going to remember the ring as much as the lessons that our coaches have taught us throughout the 4 years that we have been together, the 2 years in community college, whatever it is, right? So I think
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if we really talking about winning and what winning means, and we can come up with a lot of different meanings. But quick break before we jump back in. As a vegan and a hybrid athlete training for an Ironman, what I eat really matters. That's why I have partnered with CaliforniaAvocadosDirect.com. They deliver fresh, hand-picked avocados straight from their family farm in California to your door. No processing, no storage, just straight from the tree to your table. They grow different kinds of avocados throughout the year, like Reed, Fuerte, and Hass. Every order comes with 100% satisfaction guarantee. And what I like the most is that you can even subscribe so you never run out of real food packed with vitamins and minerals to support how you train and recover. Use the code TheAthleticSchool at checkout to get 10% off. Check the show notes for the link. Also, a big thanks to California Avocados Direct for backing up my training and believing the mission. Now, let's get back to the show. It's definitely not gonna be just a ring, right? It's gonna be something way bigger than that. Um, my last topic that I want to talk to you guys about, and I want you guys' opinions is: are leaders born or made? Can anyone become a leader, or is it something that people are born with?
I'm not the first this time. I'll pass. I've taken over twice.
I'm gonna
Sorry.
learn a little. I'm gonna learn a little bit with Bernardo first, and then I'll go second.
Um, I think leaders are made. I don't think you. I think it's important that it is It's not something that is fixed. I don't think it's something that you are born, you come out of the womb and you are a leader. I think it's something that you learn. But I do understand that there are people, whether it's based on their environment or their personality, that potentially could grow into those functions, into those roles within their segment and industry, maybe a little bit easier than others. I'll give you my example, and people don't believe this, which is funny when I say this, but I'm an introvert by nature, right? So I need to be by myself to completely recharge my batteries. But I also, within my profession, but even in a team setting, I was always a captain. I was always somebody that had an opinion about things. I was always somebody that people wanted to hear from. So within competition, I flexed out into more of an extrovert leadership role. And so it's funny because even though I think originally people always saw me as somebody that could potentially grow into that, it wasn't like I was born out of the womb talking and wanting to lead and talk about things and give my opinion and share everything. So I think leaders are made. I think you can become a team leader, become somebody that people look up to. And I don't, but I do understand that there are people that could become that quicker because of their personalities and maybe the environment that they grow up in. Because I think when your environment, when you're put into situations by your parents or family members, I was on my mom's side, I was the first, I was the oldest cousin. So like now I'm in an environment where everybody's looking up to the oldest cousin to see what he's going to do. And so I think sometimes your environment can speed up that process or make it a little bit easier for you to, I guess, acquire certain characteristics that are important in leadership. But if you want to be a leader, and it's important too when you say the word leader, there's leaders, various different leaders. You don't have to be the loudest to be a leader. You could be the quietest person in the room and be a leader. So I think that's also important for people to understand, right? When people hear leader, they think of somebody that has to share and talk and always have something to say. No, leaders are, there's leaders in different forms and different ways too. But so that would be the start of my answer. I don't think you are born as a leader. I think you're made a leader, but the environment that you are in and maybe certain personality characteristics that you have could make that process a little bit easier to acquire certain characteristics than others.
Do you guys think anyone can be a leader?
Tough question. I'm don't know. I'm not sure. I'll answer in your original question. For me, leadership is the ability to connect and inspire other people. So, uh, and answering your question, like the question, are they born or made? I'm pretty sure that they're made. Nobody is born as a leader. Yeah, we don't have, we influence and inspire people by being educated about inspiring and connecting people. And it could be formal education, it could be examples that you have at home. Like Bernardo said, your environment dictates a lot if you're going to be a leader or not. And the actions of the people that you look up as leaders will dictate how you're going to lead or not people around you. So those things are experiences that you collect through life, um, on purpose or not, that will dictate your ability to inspire and connect people. So I think my journey as a leader and someone who studies a lot about leadership was made, for sure, was made something that I went after education and experiences that I had with other coaches, with my parents, with my brother. the people that with some good friends that are great leaders that made me more self-aware about leadership and made me go after being a better leader and then teaching leadership, you know. So being born as a leader, I don't know. You can be in an environment that you're prone to be more leader,
Mhm.
uh, or you can study or get influence to become one. You know,
Cesar, can I
so
add something to what you were
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that
yeah, of
kind
course.
of made me think? We have a
Mhm.
definition with our program that, leadership is making those around you better and more productive, right? And that's the definition. So to answer your question, Igor, can anybody be a leader? Absolutely. Do you have the ability every single day to make those around you better and more productive? Absolutely. You have control over that with a simple action. Like I always say, if you wake up in the morning, right, and you get out of bed and you give your mom a big hug and you say, "Good morning, mom. What can I do to help you today?" Like, you are making those around you better and more productive just with that interaction, right? If you get into the locker room or you get into your job and you bring, somebody a coffee and you tell them, "Hey, have a great day today. I'm excited. Thank you so much for what you did." I mean, all these things, you are being a leader. Now, it's some people do it louder, some people do it with gestures, some people do it with hugs, but I think it's all about looking, defining, maybe redefining what leadership really is. But if you define it in a way that is achievable for everybody, then you allow everybody to find their voice within leadership. And then some people become louder than others, and but that's irrelevant. So we have that definition. So when Cesar was talking about his definition of leadership, it immediately made me think about the definition that we share with our team. Make those around you better and more productive, and you are a leader for your program, for your team, for your organization, for your family.
And I think leadership is a big skill that has like some fundamentals, some principles that you can study and you can develop on yourself to become a better leader.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you guys seen my material about the 8 pillars of leadership. So 8 principles of leadership that you can apply with any style of leadership leader that you are, a little more quiet, a little more vocal, a little more introvert, more extrovert. Um, that you can use all those principles just like you use fundamentals of the game, and
Mhm.
you can become better. You can become a, a better people connector, better people, better inspiration for people. So all those fundamentals are teachable, and you can learn, and you can become better with those.
My thing about leadership is I think it all starts within. Everybody can be a leader because it starts with you leading yourself. You have to lead yourself first before you can lead anything else. So, can everybody become a leader? Yes. Can you become the best version of yourself? Yes. So, the moment that you wake up in the morning, how are you going to be better today than you were the day before? So, that's leading yourself. So, then I feel like you can talk about different types of leadership as well, as these guys said. But off the field, I think it's one thing, and also being an extrovert or an introvert, I think that can be a little bit labeled as being more of a leader or not, just because someone might be a little more vocal. And I think also there's the part on the field or on the court that generally is associated with like the best player.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not necessarily a leader, but they can change a game. So the view of some players in terms of, oh wow, like, maybe they happen to be the best player, but not necessarily the leader. So if you allow me to ask these guys a question, how do you feel about the best player if he or she they're not natural leaders, but they have the respect of the whole group. How do you view that? Do you make that person the captain because of everyone else, or what's the difference between the leadership on the field, like inside the sport, and then off as well? And is that correct to assume that generally the best player is associated with being a leader? Igor, is that okay if I ask a question? I didn't even
Absolutely,
ask.
please do it. And
Sorry, and I asked both of them without even asking you.
no, of course.
My bad.
And I love that because I mean, I'm sure that happens in volleyball as well, but we can see that in soccer a lot when, like, for example, I mean, I love the guy, but Neymar, you know what I mean? Like,
That's where
he's definitely the best player on the team, but I think we all can come to the conclusion that he shouldn't be the captain. You know, he's just because he has the most skills doesn't make him the best leader on the field. And we've seen that multiple times in the Brazilian national team and all of that. It's different in Portugal where you know the guy that it is the real leader is also the guy with the most skills.
the role model.
Yeah, but no, please go ahead, guys, because I really want to know how you guys come up with the decision of who should be the captain of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to always take into account what the locker room um, chooses and selects. We hope, I think, as coaches, fingers crossed, that there's an alignment and that you as a coach have done a good job of creating an environment that um, the locker room selects and pushes and elevates the right person, that follows suit within your core values and is somebody that can lead by example, and and then obviously after leading by example then can influence others, right, to go the right path. I haven't encountered too many situations, and probably because I think I focus so much on the environment that we create and the clarity and standards and making sure that people live very aligned. I haven't encountered too many situations where there's a misalignment between the person that I would select or the two or three people and um, who the locker room would select too. So, but I always like to listen to them, because at the end of the day, I mean, we are not with them 24/7. As a coach, you are with them, for a certain amount of time. But then what they do off the field, and what happens inside the locker room, what conversations happen before the game, after the game, at halftime. You need the right people, in those types of situations, and so yeah. But I think as a coach, you have a responsibility, and this is where I think Cesar and he talked about being an educator, right? You have a responsibility to educate and to set the aura and to set the standards and set the parameters, and within that, then I think naturally you hope that the locker room selects the right person and that there's an alignment with the staff. So that's how we go about it. I also do, just as an example, I do an exercise, and we did it in the spring, where I list 8 um, 8 adjectives that I believe are really important within my context of leadership, that are really important for a leader to have. And then I ask our team, I'm like, okay, you have these 8 adjectives, and let's just say loyal, trustworthy, hard worker, like whatever they are, right? You can list them as a leader. So this is, again, you setting the parameters of your culture and your environment. And then I have 2 lines under the adjective. I define that adjective. What do I mean by loyal? Here's the definition. And then I tell them, this is before they vote for captains, right? Who do you think about in the locker room that represents that adjective? So when you think of
that.
loyal, yeah, like who are the 2 people that boom boom come to you
By association.
exactly? And so now the next day when we vote for captains, then the previous day they already thought about the right people. Okay, so this is where the coach sees the lead. Okay, so now they're not voting on the best player or their friend or whatever happens behind the scenes. It's not like a political vote. It's a real vote with people that instill the values that you want to see in your own environment and in your locker room. So those are some of the things that you do. But then again, that's like setting the culture and the environment the way that you should.
For me, I go back to the leadership definition, connecting and inspiring people. So if you have a player that is really good technically, but he or she does not inspire and connect people, then you have already one cue that shows you that that person might not be good for that captain role. And then if you have an environment like Bernardo said, if you as a coach you set up an environment based on really strong values that become a behavioral guide, that's like I like to say that my values, which adding those values will become a culture once you over time apply those values, then you're gonna have a pretty good behavioral guide that will tell you that if this person honor or hurt the values. So maybe it's an indication if that person can be or should not be the captain. And one thing that my sport is very different from yours is that my sport we cannot retain the ball. You have to. It's a micro, like very fractions of seconds that I touch the ball. I cannot influence the game as much as someone in your sport can influence the game. A good player that might not think about the team could try to go and dribble everyone and try to make the goal. In my sport, we can't do that. So it's easier for us in our sport, technically and tactically, to teach values that align a little more with the team, aspect. If Neymar, for example, he's always been the best player in the team since he was, I don't know, 8 years old, and everybody was telling them, no, just give the ball to him and he'll take care of the game himself. It doesn't work like that. It could work for, I don't know, some situations, but overall, it's not going to work. Not going to work. So I think us going back to the education piece of the process, setting up the values and putting our players to become part of this decision of what the values are, and then building the culture based on those values and using that as a behavioral guide is a big piece of the process that can become really important for the education process to eliminate those things, to maybe neutralize and maybe eliminate those things. And then the captain selection will become natural. That best player will naturally become the captain, maybe.
And I think too,
Thales, go ahead. Sorry.
No. It's very quick. Based on what you two were saying, is also it to me. It gives the perspective on when the culture is so strong. It's like it's culture based. The captain is basically like a reinforcer of the culture already pre-established.
Yeah.
It's not the captain that has to set the culture and all of that, because the culture is already there.
Yeah.
So the culture is a lot bigger than even the captain herself or himself. So in the case of soccer, sometimes the captain, like the leader, is bigger than the culture because there is no culture. So what those guys are saying is that once you have the pre-established, so it's like the cherry on top, you have to just make sure that everything's being done. So the captain may be more of a manager than like a CEO per se. I'm just like saying it out loud, but to me, when they have like the strong culture, it's like, yeah, everybody walk along the line, and if you don't, it's on you, right?
Yeah. I was just going to stress the point that Thales made a little bit ago that kind of feeds into what Cesar was talking about. This idea that you ultimately you must be able to lead yourself first before you can attempt to step outside of yourself and lead others. And I think people talk about, like, there's two kinds of leaders. There's the leaders by example, and then there's the vocal leaders. No. You are a leader by example, right? And the vocal leaders, they display the same level of commitment, confidence, character of the leaders by example, but they just go a critical step further, is that they are willing to step outside of themselves and then verbally encourage, motivate, challenge, hold people accountable. And it's a pretty scary step, because the courage to confront, see, people use it sometimes as a cop out. Oh, no, I'm just a leader by example. I don't really hold others. No. Like a leader, like, you go all the way. And so then it's about the guiding of that process, right? So that people can, one, lead themselves first, and then ultimately take that critical step that, the leaders that we think about are then doing, from an encouragement and an enforcing standpoint. So I think that's a really, really important point to make here.
I love that. So my last question for you guys, or request, is if you could leave one message for every athlete listening to us, what would it be?
Well,
Whoever wants to go first.
All right.
I will go first. Focus on the person next to you. Once you put your focus on your teammate, you're gonna give your best. You're gonna be really good. You're gonna serve that person in the best way possible. Once you understand that you are nothing without the people next to you, you will be your best. Once you understand, and it's really important to be self-aware, to be able to serve others, but your focus has to be on the person next to you. That's the phrase that I have on my board. That's the motto of my team. It's all about the person next to you. Because if you serve that person, you're going to be your best. If you think about me, then you're going to go on a rabbit hole that's not going to be productive for the bigger picture that you're part of. If you're part of a team, the most important person is the one next to you.
Love that. I will absolutely second that, because I think team first is one of our biggest core values within our program. But I would also say that my biggest message to people is focus on your strengths and bringing those out every single day, because your goal should be to maximize your own potential and be the best version of yourself. And this is maybe a message not just for athletes, but for coaches and educators. I think we spend so much time talking about what an athlete doesn't have. What do we not have? And I like to think about, what do we have? What do we have? What do you bring to the table? And if we all do that, if we all bring the best version of ourselves, if we all look to maximize our own potential, if we all look or if we all focus on our strengths, while always working on our weaknesses, we can always work on those and our needs of improvement. We're always going to work on that, but focus on bringing your best every single day. We can put an amazing puzzle together. Amazing. Because if I bring my best version of myself and Cesar does his and Thales, Igor, we got a powerful thing together. And I can then, as I bring my best self, I can learn maybe something that you do a little bit better than I do. I can learn that. Okay, perfect. But I think we spend so much time talking about what we don't have, thinking about the things that people don't have and don't bring. And I'm like, no, you know what? What do you bring to the table? So that would be my message to everybody listening to us. And I think maybe this is a message for athletes and for people that maybe oversee organizations, head coaches, educators. Focus on people's strengths, not just their weaknesses.
Beautifully said. I even wrote mine down here so I wouldn't forget. Very similar to what these guys said, but it's to me it's the understanding of what focus on the process means. Is I even wrote here, it's not even focus on the process, is become aware of what the process is. Because if we just focus on the ultimate goal, you might put the directions on the GPS, but if you don't pay attention to what the next step in front of you is, you're never going to get to your final destination. So when you don't see results, especially, that's the time that means trust the process, have faith in the process, and especially when you can't see it. It's a lot easier when you say, oh no, have faith, be positive, trust, when things are going relatively okay. But how about when you are, maybe you had an injury, maybe you came back earlier than you thought you should have because you wanted to play and you re-injured yourself, or you might be going through something in your life that you can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, but focus on the next step. Focus on what you can do right now. What's in front of you? If we think about just a year from now, but we don't focus on the next moment, on the next breath, on becoming aware, wow, I'm here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on. There's 37 trillion cells in my body communicating with each other every second. And oh my God, I'm back here. Thank you for another day. Thank you for this opportunity. So focus on what you have, focus on the health that you have, being able to get up in the morning. I always use a video of a guy that became a bodybuilder not having legs and arms. So every day that you wake up in the morning, like the first thing that I start my day with, and when you said if we had any tools for becoming more and more aware, my number one is I'm awake in the morning and I say, thank you. Wow, what a gift just to be back here. Let's make it the best. Let's make our best so everyone else around us can be better as well. And I'm big on energy, something that Bernardo said, like you wake up and you're like, man, I know Cesar gets up and does his routine, drinks some coffee, walks. I know you have a morning routine as well. So we're all like aware of what makes us feel better, but it's all energy. It's like be thankful for what you have, focus on what's in front of you, and let's go. Life is beautiful. It's too beautiful to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
We have to focus on the positive. And if we're healthy, we're here. Look at what we're doing here for the ones that don't know, but this is a Sunday night, almost 10 o'clock at night for us here on the East Coast. So
Yeah.
this is beautiful. We get to do this and learn from each other and enjoy. And to me, that's what life is all about. Like, what message can we give out to other people? Like, man, focus on being happy. For God's sake, stop being so negative about everything and comparing. And wow, look at you. Look at what you have. You're doing great. You're doing amazing. Keep it up. Trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, talk too much.
No,
Vamos.
I absolutely love it. Thanks so much, guys, for taking the time to do this. When I had Bernardo on the podcast, I was like, we have to get everyone together because I just love that, and I'm sure people that are gonna listen to this, they're gonna take at least one insight, and that's all. That's all it needs, and that's all it takes. And I took a bunch of insights. I have a bunch of mental notes, but notes here
Mm-hmm.
on my journal as well. So I really appreciate you guys. As you guys know, California Avocados Direct is our sponsor. So you guys, if you guys didn't get the avocado yet, you're gonna be getting it soon. So enjoy the avocados from California. Um, Thanks for being part of the athletic school one more time, all you three. I really appreciate every single word you guys shared with me today. So
Um, thank you. Thank you for
You,
making
Igor.
this happening.
Yeah, we
Yeah, and you
appreciate
can send more avocados.
it.
With,
Sounds good.
yeah, thanks for
No,
having us. That was
thank
great.
you
That
so
was
much
awesome.
for putting it together. I know it
Yeah.
was a little difficult to schedule the right timing for everyone, but this is I wish we could do more.
100.
When you said, "Oh, last question," in my head, I'm like, "Dang, I ask a few more." That's all right.
We're ready. Yeah, we can go into Monday. That's fine.
We
We can go
definitely have to
easily.
do one in person and maybe 2 or 3 more because I had way more questions, but I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh.